Hey guys, welcome back to Starcaster Remarks alongside James and Chris. As always, my name is Ryan. Thank you to our sponsors, DraftKings, Game Time, and Raycon. Use that promo code THPN the next time you are there using their services. It is always a good day when it's a Saturday. It's always a good day when the Stars win, but it's an even better day when it's against the stinky Minnesota Wild. The Dallas Stars take care of business today. They do beat their division rivals with a final score of 2-1. The Minnesota Wild are second in the division right now, playing very well, but Dallas gives them an L in the L category today. How are y'all feeling about this win today?
Great. Mason Marchment is still feeling amazing. Maybe the best week of his Stars life. I mean, that was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, not 9 points, 4 goals, 5 assists in 3 games.
That's ridiculous.
And like the only one that he's trailing over the last 3 games, like point scoring wise, is Connor McDavid. He has more points than Leon Draisaitl in the last 3 games. That's crazy to think. But he is obviously probably the bright and shining star, for lack of a better term, in today's game. But there's lots of other things that we can get into here today. First thing I want to talk about is what we've been talking about the last 2 games is Matt Dumba. Matt Dumba gets back in the game here today. I hate it. I hate it so much. He takes out Nils Lundqvist, Pete DeBoer does, in order to put Matt Dumba in. Do you like the move? Do you hate the move?
I think it was more just to get Dumba back in more than it was a slight against Nils, really. Because Nils has been playing well, but he's playing a lot more than he's used to, too. So maybe getting him a little break was a good thing for him. And yeah, I don't know. Dumba also got demoted from top line to third line tonight and looked about the same. I like the fight. I mean, I like that he's willing to do that. I like that he's throwing the body around a little bit more. He did some good stuff in front of his own net, but outside of that, there were still turnovers in his own end, not making smart moves with the puck to get it out of his zone. I don't know. I mean, I feel like if you're getting paid as much as he's getting paid, you shouldn't be on a bottom pair and get the same minutes as Brendan Smith.
Yeah, he's not terrible, which is weird thing to say when you're getting paid $4 million. It felt like every other defenseman tonight could make the exit pass, and he just couldn't. I mean, it doesn't matter when he has it, how much space he has. He makes a worse pass.
The time on ice is actually very interesting tonight. Matt Dumba only gets 14 minutes and 19 seconds tonight. He only gets 3 seconds more than Brendan Smith, who has been playing well the last 3 games. He did not play as well in this game today, in my opinion, Brendan Smith, but he still had some good plays that made up for the bad plays. So it kind of balanced itself out a little bit there. But as for Matt Dumba, I agree with you both. He needs to be playing higher in the lineup with his cap hit. But again, this is kind of okay. I mean, I didn't hate his play. There was a couple of turnovers that he had, but his decisions for the most part with the puck were much better. Kind of not really.
Well, we just said the opposite, so we would disagree.
Well, fair enough. But Zachary over here in the chat saying Dumba is not the same caliber as the rest of this team. He just looks out of place to me. I don't think he will, though. Yeah, well, right. Okay, let's say that the comment right now is true. I think Brendan Smith is playing a higher caliber, as is Nils Lundqvist, even though Lundqvist only has 1 point. But Dumba has a higher ceiling and has better play that we've seen from him in the past. Now, the question is whether he can actually get up to that level where he's getting paid at. And right now, the answer is a resounding no, which really stinks because he at the very least, we needed him to be a second pairing defenseman. But they leaned heavily tonight when you look at the time on ice on Miro and on Esa Lindell, as they should. This is probably what they should have been doing. Esa gets 26-20 and Miro gets 25-35. Everyone else has about much less than that. Let's just say that.
Yeah, Esa Lindell, honestly, we see that top pairing game of Heiskanen and Lindell. And the surprising person who's made a big leap this year from last year to this year is Lindell. I mean, he was already great last year. He was one of our top defenders. he has been fantastic to start the season. His new contract fired him up, and he's played perfect. I mean, I'm trying to think of a mistake that he's really made, and it's hard to find him.
Yeah, and it feels like even when you do notice them, he tends to cover them up himself. Like not even 5 seconds later, he's been out of his mind. He's playing tough, is really what it is. I mean, it's like he's a defenseman that's like Logan Stankoven. I mean, he's like hunting constantly, just more on the defensive side.
And much taller.
much taller.
It's not saying much.
Speaking of Logan Stankoven, he continues to be impressive, and he continues to do what he does best. That one move that he pulled on Spurgeon, I think if he tried to do it on anybody else, it wouldn't have worked because Spurgeon is about his height. But it was still really cool to see. What'd you think about his play?
Yeah, I mean, I think just the fact that he tried that, it shows where he's at in his game right now. I mean, he's super confident.
He's so confident.
He thinks everything is going to work for him, and he's right. I mean, it worked. So
Yeah.
he made the move, and it worked out, and he got a good chance on, and there was a good rebound as well. So, yeah. He's uber confident. He deserves to be leading in the rookie scoring right now, and he's really lighting up that Ben Johnson line too. He's getting them excited and rearing to go.
Yeah, and you could see his thought process on that play too. Like the puck is wobbling completely out of control, and he flips his stick over well before he gets to it and just tips it up while it's oscillating. That was ridiculous.
He knew what he was going to do before he even received the puck from whatever, the scrum or the loose puck or whatever. But okay, this is one thing I wanted to talk about a little bit tonight. The way that it felt tonight, it felt that the Stars had a little bit of luck on their side tonight. They did play well defensively here tonight, and they took care of they took care of what they needed to tonight defensively. But there were numerous times that I thought the Stars had luck on their side. Faber having his stick break just happens right there on the backdoor play when it should have been a slam dunk. There was a couple of passes and shots that were missed by the Minnesota Wild numerous times. But that being said, the Dallas Stars did play very well defensively in front of Ottinger. And then Ottinger played even better than that. When they had the few defensive miscues that they did, he was standing right there and made sure nothing got past him.
Yeah, I would actually greatly disagree with what you said there. Outside of the third period, the Stars dominated this hockey game. And the Wild had a good pushback in the end that the Stars honestly matched. This was probably one of the better 60-minute efforts that the Stars played this season as far as keeping up the same tempo the entire game. And with how good the Stars' second period was, the only bad thing about it was that they didn't score. If they put up points there, and like they should, they had numerous opportunities to score in the first and second period, then the game's not even close, and there's not even a push in the third period by the Wild. So I get what you're saying there at the end, especially the Wild had good chances to claw their way back into this game. But if it wasn't for Gustafsson and some missed chances, the Stars would have ran away with this game. I thought they wildly outplayed the Wild for the majority.
Yeah. I feel like once the Wild scored their goal with 6 minutes left, it was just downhill from there. I mean, complete tilt. They were sprinting down a mountain, and the Stars really had to hold on there. And that's where Otter was needed. And that was one of the things that I wanted to mention tonight was Otter, when he had to be amazing, he was. I mean, we didn't need him basically the whole game. And in the last 6 minutes, he comes out and he's just standing on his head.
That was one of the things that I wanted to mention as well, is that the last 7 minutes, he was the hero of the game. He might not have been the offensive guy, obviously, but he was the one that saved for the game. It very easily could have gone downhill if it wasn't for him that last little bit.
Which is especially impressive considering he didn't really have a good chance to get into a flow the first two periods with how few shots he was facing. So the fact that he was able to stay locked in all the way till the end of the game, despite having to stop very few shots, is super impressive. So big kudos to him and big mental win for Otter right there.
And that's where I did want to mention that I want to give the Stars kudos to. They only allowed 4 shots in the second period. That's it. And that was the period that they had 2 power play chances, I believe. So the fact that they had
1.
Was it just 1?
And it was just the first period.
They had The Wild had both power play opportunities.
Oh, the Wild had. Sorry, I thought you said the Stars had 2 power play chances. Yeah, the Wild.
No,
had
no,
2
no.
chances,
The Wild had two power play chances, and the fact they had 2 power play chances and there's only 4 shots against, that's major kudos to the Stars' overall team defense there.
Yeah, and the penalty kill with Lindell and Lyubushkin. I mean, and those 2 were actually put out there later in the game as kind of a shutdown pair at the end too, which I really liked. Both of them have played well in that uber defensive role, so I like seeing that from the War tonight as well.
The other thing I really liked about the Stars game tonight is that they were very tough in the neutral zone and forcing turnovers. I think what the Wild were trying to do is, at least at first, is they were trying to get chances off the rush, and Dallas was just not letting it happen. If they were able to get through the neutral zone, the Wild, it always seemed like the Stars were able to take care of it in their own defensive zone. And that's, again, major kudos to them tonight for forcing the takeaways that they got. The one thing I think I would like to see the Stars do a little bit more maybe is just a little bit more of the forechecking in the game in general, because we saw a lot more of that in the last 2 games. But again, I can't argue with the result of tonight. So what do y'all think of that?
Yeah, it's a different caliber of team too. I mean, the Wild are just as good as the Stars are at getting out of their own zone. I mean, these are 2 of the most defensive teams in the league. In fact, the top 3 in the Central are 1, 2, 3 in defense. So it's stingy team. It's hard to get in there, and I feel like they just did a really good job of breaking the forecheck for the most part tonight.
So the one of the things I also wanted to mention was it's very rare to see it now in a Stars game because it's just not our game. But we saw 2 fights in the first period, and it's rare because we don't have a lot of teams that we absolutely despise. But I think the Minnesota Wild are at the top of that list. So remind me who it was. It was Smith and
Middleton.
Smith and Middleton,
and then Bogosian and Dumba.
Yes, and both of those fights were very entertaining, especially the first one. They just let him go. That was a very long fight, and they just looked exhausted by the end of it. I think Middleton got the best of Smith in the first one, but I think Dumba absolutely obliterated the Minnesota guy in the second one. So that was just fun to see. A little bit of a different element to the game that we don't normally see in a Stars game.
Yeah, both fights by the bottom pair defensemen who probably want to stay in the lineup. So I don't think that's really a coincidence.
The trade-off was also kind of nice, though, too, because, for Smith, Middleton normally plays about 20 minutes a night. So, hey, we'll make that change any day of the week. And just
trading anyone for Dumba is good. So.
Just getting Dumba off the ice is
good. Dumba, do it again. Just go find someone to fight. Just don't do it to Ryan Reeves, because Ryan Reeves might actually pummel you into the ground, and you may never be seen again.
Ryan Reeves probably deserves it after the hit that he made tonight. So
yeah, I was about to say it's a side tangent, but did you see that hit on Darnell Nurse?
Yeah,
it was nasty, absolutely nasty. Okay, we need to talk about Mason Marchment a little bit more, because I know we very briefly mentioned him at the top of it, but he has been absolutely on fire lately, and as is that line. But what kind of accolades are you seeing from him that he needs to be praised more about, or what is he doing differently? Is it really just the cut on his face that makes him more intimidating, so that's why he's scoring more points? I mean, what's the answer?
That cut's definitely 10% of it at the least, but tonight I think he did it a little bit differently than he did the past 2 games too. The past 2 games he's scoring more with his skill and his shot, and tonight he fights for these goals. I mean, he's working in front of the net, gets a little lucky on that first one, of course, but hey, he got in the lane where he could get a deflection, and he got it, and following up on a great steal push to the net, and just taking care of business, sopping up the gravy. So he did it a lot less pretty tonight, but going to the place of the ice where goals are scored, and he gets rewarded. So I think it's good to see that he's able to do both.
Yeah, and for the week as a whole, I mean, he's been hungry for the puck the entire time. He's skating with it really well, and I think that's one of the bigger things is he's skating with it like he's Sam Steele, but he's like a wrecking ball as well. He'll just like run over people. So a combination of that and just being, he just looks incredibly hungry to score. is really what it, just from an eye test.
Yeah. Duchesne, Marchment, and Sagan combined for 13 shots tonight. Just those three.
That's nuts.
There goes Sagan's shot percentage.
There goes Sagan's shot percentage. He had 5 and didn't get one.
It's a miracle he didn't get one too.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of miracles, that he didn't get one tonight, I was honestly shocked that Brock Faber didn't get one tonight. I think he probably had about 4 or 5 different chances that I was like, kind of cringing in my seat.
And some crazy saves by Otteron Faber. I think he got him one with a blocker and one with a glove. Like 2 really big, flashy saves.
And it wasn't just like one way. It wasn't like just off the rush. There was a couple that were off the rush, but there is even a couple that were off the cycle in the Stars zone too. So, speaking of like how the game went, one of the elements of this game tonight was point shots. I don't know why it was, but it wasn't just the Stars and it wasn't just the Wild. Both teams were looking for that particular nasty,
that's really
greasy
weird.
Goal, rebound
Two
goal.
really good goalies, and you want to take their eyes out. I mean, both of these goalies have played out of their mind, and they both played out of their mind tonight. And they were getting screened all night long. There were some from Gustafsson that I was just like, how did he even know where the puck was? Because I lost it as a spectator overhead.
Yeah. 2 goalies that are playing out of their minds and 2 defensive systems that don't let you in the slot. So that's what leads to a ton of point shots. And you're right, Ryan. We saw a ton.
I honestly thought that Ottinger actually had to make more, I don't want to say more better because that's not really a term, but he had to make more better saves than Gustafsson did. He was called upon to make some stronger saves than Gustafsson did.
I think you're forgetting about the first and second period.
Yeah, I think it's recency bias, honestly.
Yep.
That might be true, but I'm it's not like a bias or anything, but okay. Anyways, I think the Stars only had 1 power play tonight. It looked okay.
Somehow.
Yeah.
And only got tripped like 5 times throughout the game.
Yeah.
Hintz did get tripped up a lot, but also stop throwing your hands up every time it happens too. You look like a baby. Come on.
He does look like a baby.
Pulling a Sidney Crosby over there, yes.
Yes, he's looking like rookie year Sidney Crosby. Like, you got tripped, yell at the ref while you're going back, but don't throw your hands up in the air. Come on.
Even Sidney Crosby doesn't do that anymore. He doesn't do that anymore.
He does it sometimes.
Well, like
it's
not
often.
Like prime Sidney Crosby though. Well, I say prime Sidney Crosby. He's still scored like 90.
I was about to say he almost won
scoring at the same rate.
Yeah, never mind. Yeah,
almost won the heart.
Yeah. So, okay. Anything about this game further that we need to discuss? Because I can't think of anything off the top of my head that we need to mention.
This was probably Lyubushkin's best game too. I mean,
yeah.
He was great, and especially offensively, which is not something he does at all. He has 2 assists on the night.
Yep, and he looked dangerous. I mean, he was dangling the puck from the point all the way down into the slot. So, yeah, he was really good tonight.
That brings up 2 stats in my mind that they talked about during the broadcast, but the points for defensemen have gone up dramatically over the last week and a half, 2 weeks. I think it was
16 goals will do that to you.
Yes, exactly. That's true. But still, it's not just 2 games. They've had 25 points, I think, over the last week and a half. And before that, it was like 6. So, like Esa Lindell picked up some assists. Miro is starting to score and get some assists as well. So that's good to see.
Yeah.
And then go ahead, James. Sorry.
The trip to Finland did not do us any favors in standings, but that really kickstarted all of the defensemen. I mean, that we had a bunch of defensemen scoring in that game, and it hasn't slowed down since.
And then the second thing I wanted to mention was the shots on goal per game has dramatically increased. And I forget what the time frame was, but at one point they were October, like 25th. Yeah. Okay. So October to November, they went from like 25th and now they're second. So, I mean, it's gone up by almost 10 shots on goal per game. So that's something that also needs to continue. And it does continue here tonight. I think they had 41 by the end of the game here this evening. So 2 stats I kind of remember just talking about defensemen in general. And I do agree with you both that Lyubushkin, this was probably his best game that I saw. So quick random question since we're talking defensemen. Does Nils get back in the lineup and Dumba come out?
I think Nils goes back in. I think Smith comes out.
So how do you think the defensemen go in? then? Do we have just two
No
ratings on the
idea.
bottom pairing?
No idea.
I guess that's we'll have to wait and see what the board decides. I really think it's gonna be Dumba just comes back out and Nils goes in. I mean, Dumba didn't play well enough for him to say he deserves to stay in the lineup.
But he's also getting paid $4 million.
Yep,
coaches don't care.
I mean, it matters a little.
GMs talk to coaches. That's a thing.
GMs talk to coaches, but Jim Nill lets Pete DeBoer do what he wants. And if that's the best thing, if Smith and Nils together, which, like I said last episode, if that shows more chemistry, we're gonna put those two guys on the ice. That's gonna be our best chance to win. So,
agreed. I don't like Dumba out there.
I don't either. All right. Anything else?
Biggest winners, biggest losers.
Biggest winner, biggest loser. Okay. James, biggest loser first.
Biggest loser first.
Yeah.
Ooh, mixing it up.
I know.
You're confusing me.
I'll go first.
Yeah,
biggest loser is Rope Hintz and Jason Robertson. This game, especially when you're dominating the first two periods and you only are up by 1 goal, this is where you need someone to take over and score. That's what your top line should be doing. They should take over in a situation like this. They didn't do it. They had a couple of good chances tonight. They're playing decently still, I feel like. Score. You're getting paid to score goals. You're not getting paid to play good. You're getting paid to score. They need to do it, especially in a game like tonight. I feel like if they get a goal here, it feels totally different in the third period.
Both of them played much better in the last game than they did in this game tonight. Just my personal opinion. They seemed more invisible tonight than they did last game, especially Robertson. I thought Robertson had a really, really good game last game, and they both were completely invisible. And I don't know if that's just the other team's defense keying on them, but at some point that's not the case. And I think that's where we're at right now, is that's not the case. They're just not going.
I wouldn't say they were invisible tonight, but they definitely aren't doing what they should be.
Okay, I guess it's me. Do you want me to go first, James?
I can do mine now. I'm going to give my biggest loser to that stick that broke on the Wild. When he was wide open. Because I was like, oh, crap. And the stick completely snaps in half. And I was like, oh, thanks.
I was like, oh, yay. That was literally my my reaction to that. I was like, ooh, oh, yay. For me, I was kind of on the same thought process as Chris. Robertson and Hintz need to get going. And the reason why more Stars fans aren't talking about the two of those guys right now is because the Duchesne line is taking up all of the attention right now.
Yep.
Eventually, that line is going to cool down. That's just the nature of it. I mean, Marchment, he's going to cool down. There's no way he's going to continue scoring 9 points every 3 games. So they both have to step up, and they really need to make sure that they get going, because I was looking at the stats, and Robertson has as many points as Evgeny Dodonov does. And that's not at all where he should be. He should be at the very least a point per game. And then we talked about Rope Hintz and thinking, maybe we could get a little bit more out of Rope Hintz this season, and we have not seen that at all.
No.
So it's kind of hard for me not to go with the biggest losers tonight with both of those guys. Okay.
Fact checking you real quick, Ryan. Robertson has 1 more point than Evgeny.
Bang! Fact check. Okay. Fraud alert.
Fake news.
They have the same amount of goals, though.
Okay, I was close.
That's spin right there.
Okay. Biggest winner. Who wants to go first?
Biggest winner is Mason Marchment, because he's amazing. He has beautiful eyes, and he's really good at scoring hockey goals.
Yeah, I'm going to give mine to Philip Gustafsson. I mean, he's the only reason why the Wild even have a chance tonight. Yep. I mean, if anyone else is in net, it's over before it starts.
Since you took the obvious one, Chris, for me, I'll give it to Otter tonight. For the last 7 minutes alone. I mean, that easily could have gone really badly, really quickly. There were several saves that he made that could have easily made the score 4-2 in favor of the Wild if it weren't for him. So he's my biggest winner tonight, just on the fact that he didn't get a lot of action in the first 2 periods. And I mean, literally he faced 4 shots in the second, and then he pulls up a tremendous performance the last 7 minutes of the third period. So he's my biggest winner tonight. Okay, I think that's it. Y'all got anything else?
Nope.
Not much to talk about. It was a pretty boring game. I agree with you, James, with our group chat. It was a pretty boring game until about when the Wild scored.
Yeah.
So
Then it got
then it got really exciting. Yes, exactly. So I'm okay with this game being boring, especially with the Stars being the road team here. So
and a great week, especially after that Jets game. I mean, those are the 3 games you want to respond with after such a crap show. So
and especially this one, because this team is above the Stars in the standings. And again, like you said, the Jets game was just flat out terrible. They did not look good at all. And then they turn around and they play a pretty good game here tonight. So
yep, and you got some soft teams coming up, so keep it rolling and roll on through.
But I believe it's the Ducks on Monday, and then after that, who is it?
San Jose on Wednesday.
So I don't want to
say at home, so you're looking good.
I don't know what it is about the Sharks, but the Stars always seem to play bad against the San Jose Sharks.
That is going to be a weird game.
So we'll see how this continues on for the Dallas Stars moving forward. A couple of softball games coming up here. Hopefully they take care of business there, but you can never count any team out here in the NHL. Every team is always beatable in the NHL nowadays with the parity in the league. So anyways, that's going to do it for us here tonight. Thank you to our sponsors, DraftKings, Game Time, and Raycon. Promo code is THPN. Follow us on social media at StarcasticR. We're basically anywhere and everywhere. Give us a thumbs up here on YouTube if you're watching the video feed. And if you're listening to us on the audio side, please consider giving us a 5-star review wherever you are listening. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, who knows, whatever, even Amazon. Along with James and along with Chris, my name is Ryan. We will catch you guys on the flip side, and we hope you guys have a good, fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you guys are listening. Chris, can you do us a favor and take us out?
Sit down, little brother. GG, boys.